Woohoo!
And we are live.
We're imagining a Rick Stojak playing.
That was my best Seinfeld slap bass.
Nice. That was pretty good. I like that.
Right now, if I could just get Kramer to slide through the door and say something incredibly funny, that would be awesome. Hey, everybody, welcome to Drummers Education Connection. It is Tuesday morning. It's 11 o'clock, and you are at the right place for drumming education and Chip Ritter's garden weasel spinning lesson.
Hello.
I'm Bart Robley. I'm here with two of the greatest guys on the planet, two dear friends of mine and guys that lift me up every week. My good friend up in the Bay Area, Jeremy Steinkohler, and my friend in Tucson, Arizona, Chip Ritter.
Hello.
I'm Bart Robley. I'm in Ontario, and today we are talking about the show must go on. No matter what, we're going to tell stories and all kinds of fun stuff about things that have happened to us and why the show must go on. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to do what we always do, and we're going to start with good things. So, Jeremy, you said you had a video to share, so let's hear your good thing, brother.
All right, here's a good thing. I hope you guys don't mind me over and over sort of
we like it.
Bragging about my kid, because that's what we're here for as parents, right?
Right.
Hold on, let me see if I can get it.
I'm guessing you're right. I'm not a parent.
Yeah. Trust me. Why can't I present? Oh, there it is.
I'm riveted.
All right. Can you guys see that?
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, right on. Let's hear it.
So he's did I say the good news about the Jazz at Lincoln Center thing last time?
No, what happened?
Oh, let me start with this. So what I'm about to play on the video is a clip of Evan's jazz combo at Northwestern. They played last night. We get to watch it online now, which is pretty cool. But his ensemble, which is the big band, which is the top, he got into the top group this year, and they've been invited to participate in a 3-day adjudicated competition conference thing at Jazz at Lincoln Center with Wynton Marsalis and some other.
Yeah. You said that last week. Yeah. That's cool.
Anyway, so that's cool. Yeah. But anyways, here's the latest good thing. Nice to play. Can you hear it?
Turn it up
a little bit, barely.
Can you hear it?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Damn.
Anyway.
Nice, man. I like it. The Jerry Lee Lewis slide over there.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, that's my good thing. I'm just going to let it speak for itself right there.
Dude.
That's really cool, man. I like that good thing.
Yeah, Evan is, man, the guy's got more chops than a butcher shop. That is awesome. That's killer, man.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks.
Yeah,
that's very cool, Jeremy.
Chip, what do you got going on, brother?
Man, I've got $3,356 to the Team Ritter page to fight breast cancer, and I'm stoked about being announced as one of the top celebrity fundraisers this year. And I also have a good thing that Josh Posey, Fred Fisher, and Brian Lovins are watching our show today.
Yeah, that's
So,
a good thing,
guys. It
What's
is a
up,
good
fellas?
thing.
Love that. Love that.
That's my good thing. What about you, Bart?
You know what, man? Everything is just fantastic. The band's kind of starting to slow down for the end of the year, which is always it's bittersweet because I'm very fortunate that we're so busy, you know, and we work all the time. But it's kind of nice to have a little bit of breathing room, you know. So
Yeah,
it's kind of nice to just kind of, you know, come in for a landing a little bit. I'm also happy to announce that the work that we've been doing on deck and that I've been doing on my personal YouTube page with my new playlist, Road Rash and Band-Aids. Things are growing. Things are going in the right direction. The deck page is going up. There are more people watching on the live stream on our YouTube. There are more people watching. The numbers, everything's going great. So things are just fantastic right now, and things are chill. It's nice. It's nice.
Beautiful.
It's nice.
That's
yeah.
great,
stuff.
man.
That's good
Yeah,
stuff.
sometimes the good thing is just, I can breathe now. I can sit back and relax a little bit. So anyway, so today's show was inspired by, well, it's inspired by a lot of things, but something that happened to me recently, and the title of the show is "The Show Must Go On," right? And sometimes things happen, and it can be circumstances, it can be gear related, it can be anything that kind of makes the show kind of, wow, this is gonna be a challenge, but it must go on, right? And so when I threw the idea at Chip and Jeremy, they're like, "Yeah, I like it." So that's the title of the show today. Show must go on. I'm going to tell a quick story of something that happened to me, and why I came up with this. So about 3 weeks ago, I got to the gig. Showed up to as a local gig down in Newport Beach, and I was the first one there, and as I do all the time, I was unloading my gear no differently than I ever do. I have a ramp that leans up against the back of my truck. I roll my flight cases off. I was going to roll them up to the front of the venue and get ready to play. I was rolling one of the bigger cases out of the back of my truck, and I went to step down. My foot wouldn't move because my shoe had come untied. I'm standing on my shoelace. I went over backwards. I fell about 4 feet, landed on my back, and completely scrunched myself. I immediately knew. I was like, I broke my back. I'm really hurt bad. And it took every ounce of everything I had out of me. I'll keep the long story short, do the Reader's Digest version. I basically called the band leader and said just that. I broke my back. How far away are you? He goes, "Why are you calling me? Why don't you call 911?" Okay. Well, I was kind of hoping for some help. And so I ended up getting up kind of, about 30 minutes had gone by. The guys get there, and I know I'm hurt, right? I kind of walk it off. I could feel my extremities. I had made, excuse me, I'd made some phone calls. I called Stevie D, called Chris Brady from Aquarian, called all the guys that like were coming to mind, like who could come pull this gig off. Nobody was picking up. Everybody's out of town. Everybody's out of gig. So Sam goes in, tells the club what happened. They said they want the show to go on because it was sold out.
Wow.
So they started calling drummers, and nobody's available. I'm starting to realize, okay, I can stand up straight. I can walk. When I bend over, I can touch my toes. Nothing's clicking and snapping and popping, and I can feel my extremities. But I was in a lot of pain. Told the guys, let's load the stuff in and help me set it up. I'll do the gig. So I did the gig. And it was really painful. I'm not suggesting that anybody does that. Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't suggest anybody do that. It was maybe not the smartest thing in the world. And I really, after I could feel everything, I was like, it's not broken. I just really jammed myself up. So we get done with the gig. I go home. Next day, I go to urgent care. They x-ray me. Well, I don't have a broken back, but it's messed up. A few weeks go by, I get an MRI done. Sure enough, I have a broken back. I broke my back. And so again, I'm not, two things I want to be really clear about. This is an observation, not a judgment. Sometimes you see people on social media, they get on there, they go, "Oh my God, I got a headache." Everybody, send me good vibes. I'm not trying to be that person, and I'm not telling this story for any other reason that this is what happened to me. And the show went on, and I pulled it off. And again, probably not the smartest thing. Probably should have just gone straight to urgent care. Had the guys do an acoustic show. We'll worry about the ramifications of the gig, not going off like it was supposed to down the road because I was hurt. So that's an extreme circumstance, and thank God that it wasn't worse than it was. I made it through. But that's an example of kind of what happens in the music business. And I know a lot of us have those stories. That's one. We all have those stories where it's like, oh my God, I don't want to play right now. And I have a few of them where at the end of the show today, I'm going to sound like the biggest klutz in the world because I have a couple of gigs where I've gotten myself banged up. But I think we all can relate to that because we're dealing with musical equipment. Some of it's heavy. You can drop it on your foot. You can do a lot of things. So anyway, that's my story. That's where I got the idea of the show. And that's what happened.
Nice. I'm glad that you're okay.
Yeah. And you seem to be, I mean, it's pretty amazing that you're able to do that. I can imagine other circumstances where you would not have been able to play.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? Honestly, guys, like it could have been so much worse. I have my cousin, Richard, he's 6 months younger than me. We're dear friends. We grew up like brothers. And he's worked ever since we got out of high school. He got a job at a hospital, and he basically works with people who are quadriplegic and paraplegic. And so after this happened to me, I'm like, oh my God, I have a I could have really have done some major damage. I could have really, really, really have hurt myself and been in a wheelchair. And so thank God I wasn't. I'm really thankful that I wasn't. So again, I'm not, it is what it is. What's this YouTube? What was the question? What's it say?
Was the audience or your customer base aware that you were injured or compromised?
You know what? Great question. Actually, Shane, you know what? I don't think so. And then at the end of the show, the guy that is the manager of the club came up and said something to the audience, and which I kind of wished he wouldn't have. I mean, it's because I'm not telling the story here to be a hero, and I didn't want anybody there. It wasn't like I wanted sympathy or anything. It was just like I wanted to get the gig and I wanted to go home.
That guy got up and he said, "You know what? If in case anybody was wondering why the drum solo sucked."
Right.
Actually, you know what?
Right.
Exactly. You know what? I told Sam, I'm like, dude, I'm not playing a solo. And I didn't. Matter of fact, we played last week in Phoenix, and I told Sam, I'm like, dude, pull the solo out of the set. He goes, okay, I will. So yeah. Yeah, Shane, thanks. Yeah,
Right
yeah,
on.
and like I said, if I would have known my back was broken, I wouldn't have played the gig, I mean, because it could have been a lot worse. So anyway, that's my story. Well, throw me a bone, guys. What you got to have stories too. Let's hear yours.
Chip, you want to go first? I got a bunch.
Well, I can go first. I had a show in Mexico City with Long John Hunter where there's 3 TV stations there, and the crowd in the town center, and it was just packed. It was like over 3,000 people, and it was this huge event, huge gig. And the night before, I got Montezuma's revenge. I got stomach poisoning, and it was just like, just disaster in every way you can imagine.
That sounds awful.
And I had to play. I just the show must go on. It had to happen, and I ended up playing with a bucket next to my hi-hat and a bottle of water. And I would just drink and then puke during the songs while we were playing. It was horrible, but the show went on and we played.
Man, that's
Man.
rough, bro.
Yeah,
Bucket next to
that's
the
a
drum
true
kit.
story.
That sounds
Yeah.
just miserable.
It was
Yeah.
miserable. What about you, Jeremy?
It's amazing how resilient we are and what we can actually push through, when
Yeah. Well,
when we decide we
never
need to.
thought of not playing. The thought of not playing the show didn't cross my mind. It was like, you know what? I'm out here. This is what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, probably the worst one for me was when I spontaneously combusted.
No, wow.
It was just a small green globule on the drum.
And yet I was still able to play the show. No, I tore my ACL playing football in the morning and had a show that night and didn't know I had torn my ACL, but it was all swollen like a melon. And I played the show. I had people help me set the drums up, and it's like, oh yeah, I was young. I was like 25, so when you're 25, you can do whatever. You're made out of rubber, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I found out later that it was torn, and sort of in retrospect, couldn't believe that I played. It was my right foot to my right knee too.
Oh man.
I know. What was another one I was just thinking of? Oh God, I had like 3 other stories. I had one where I forgot my bass drum pedal. So I had taken it out to do some practicing on a practice pad and forgot to put it back in the trap case, get to the gig, had no pedal, and it was
Oh
a jazz.
no.
Yeah, it was a jazz gig. Thankfully, it was kind of a small thing. And, I went up and down the street to the other clubs, asking the drummers in the other clubs if they had a spare pedal. And of course, nobody did.
Yeah.
So I had to play the gig without a kick drum pedal. And I had, I was hitting it with the stick a bunch. And yeah, there was
That's
another
horrible.
one I hit. First snare hit of the first tune, whap,
Right through the head.
right through the head. Big old
I knew
tear,
it.
like from top to bottom. There was no snare drum. I had no spare head, and I had to play the whole gig without a snare drum.
I
Oh
have
man.
I have stories like that, man. I'm going to jump in with this one. And guys, in the comments, if you would, anybody watching Facebook, YouTube, we want to hear your horror stories. So throw them in there. We really want to hear them. We want to hear your the show must go on stories. We were playing live television. It was being filmed. Well, it was going out live from the Whiskey in Hollywood, and I had just put new heads on the kit, and we're right in the middle of probably the 4th tune, and whack, snare drum hit the top. I was playing. Luckily, I was playing a dual ply head, and so I hit it. The top layer splits, and I'm thinking to myself, well, if it'll last to the commercial, because there was one TV commercial in the show, I'll change out the snare drum. Right? I'll switch it out. It didn't. I didn't get 3 more backbeats in, and it split all the way through. Now here's the lucky part. I had a side snare, right, set up, but it wasn't mic'd up. I almost didn't set it up because I wasn't going to use that side snare for the gig, right? I didn't need it. And I wasn't going to set it up because if you've ever played the Whiskey, the stage, the drum riser's in the corner. It's really tight. It's a small stage. And this is how shallow it was. I thought to myself, well, I'm on live TV. I got to look cool, right? So I'll set up the side snare. So I set it up, and luckily I did. And I went through the head, and I looked up, and I was like, well, there's no mic on the snare. Hopefully the overheads will pick it up. And I just switched over to the side snare and actually went till commercial. And once we went to commercial, switched out the snare drums. So that was, something that could have been a, show must go on nightmare, but it wasn't because I had the sides snare set up. And then I also had one night, and I talked about this in one of my videos for Road Rash and Band-Aids recently. I'll put a link to it in the description after the show. We got to Oklahoma for a gig, right? And it was trains, planes, and automobiles to get there. It was a fly-in, flew into Dallas, long drive, middle
Those
of winter.
weren't pillows.
Oh, dude, that was a rough gig. So we get to the gig, and guess what? The guy goes, tell your drummer I got him this great Sonar drum set to Sam. That's what the promoter says. So I get there, and sure enough, there's a sonar kit, but it was what was called the Sonar Force, which is their entry-level kit, which is fine. But the sonar kit consisted of a 20-inch sonar bass drum, probably 10 years old, with the original head on from the factory on the drum, a sonar snare drum, a B8 ride cymbal, a B8 crash cymbal, and a set of B8 hats. That was my kit for the night. And so what do? You're playing a rock gig and you show up and that's your kit and it's provided for you for Bacline. You're not gonna, you're not gonna put your tail between your legs and bail on the gig, right? You got to do the gig. The show must go on. So we made it happen.
Yeah, I've certainly shown up to gigs where the kit was backlined and it was just a disaster. You couldn't adjust. The tom was below the snare on a snare stand, and you couldn't adjust the height on it, so you had to reach over and down to hit the tom. I mean, just crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, or I showed up for a jazz gig and it was a big 22-inch bass drum that had no muffling in it and had a single ply head on the front. It was just ringing like crazy, and yeah, you just gotta do your best under the circumstances and adapt.
Yeah.
The phrase "the show must go on" originated in the 19th century circus and theater world, particularly among traveling performances like circuses and minstrel shows. It reflects the ethos that performances must continue despite the challenges. When an animal escapes, they kept the band playing. The show must go on.
Well, I certainly can imagine some scenarios where the show doesn't go on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about what happened with Siegfried and Roy, those guys.
Yeah, that's over. That's over.
Right.
That's enough.
Everybody go home.
Everybody go home. I was just mauled by a tiger.
God.
That's horrible.
Jeremy's like, I can imagine where there's instances that the show does not go on. No.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian. What did Brian say? Chip, let's hear what he said. Read it.
Hey, Brian says, lots of crazy stories I've lived through over the years. To Jeremy's point with the kick pedal, I think the bass drum kick pedal issues leave you the feeling the most helpless. I once broke a bass drum head on the road in Beckley, West Virginia. I ran off the stage and grabbed some duct tape and a round Heineken drink coaster from the bar.
Nice.
I
That's
taped
awesome.
it to the head and got through the night. Right
I
on.
love it. I love it.
Go Heineken coaster. That reminds me that Bart designed something with Chris Brady that helps you for if you get a flat kick tire.
Yeah, the kick patch. It's a fantastic invention. Go to
but you can use that for the snare too, right?
You can use it for anything. It's just a patch. It's basically what happened was we were playing the NAMM. We called it the Sam Jam. It was the NAMM Jam. Chip, you played it.
Yeah,
at NAMM one year, and my bass player walks up to me and he goes, "What are you going to do?" Because every drummer in town's coming up and playing my kit, and he goes, "What are you going to do if somebody goes through your bass drum head?" And I was like, I didn't think about that part, and luckily they didn't. But the Aquarian had just come out with the Duradot, which is like a dot, but it's a thicker one, and it's made to patch a snare drum head. And I thought, hey, I know. So the next day after Greg said that, I went over to the Aquarian booth at NAMM. This was the NAMM show. I went over and talked to Ron Marquez, and I said, hey, got an idea, and threw it at him, and he loved it. So they started making it, and it's a great product. So check it out. Matter of fact, you know what? Again, I'll put a link in the description to this below to the Aquarian kick patch.
That's a great product. Highly recommend.
Josh Posey's got a story. I forgot my pedals once and didn't realize it until 10 minutes before going on stage. Thankfully, one of the drummers that played before me unpacked his pedals and saved me. Well, that's a guy. That's a trooper right there.
Oh,
what? That's the drumming community does that for each other.
I had another one like that a second time where I had forgotten my kick pedal, and there was a drummer friend in the audience who lived 10 minutes, and he's like, I got you. He ran home, brought me back a pedal. And it's like,
yeah, I was on a cruise ship in 1999 playing with a country band called the Smoky River Band, and a drummer came up to me that had been invited on the show on the cruise. His country band was playing on the cruise at this big event on the top deck, and he said, "Is there any way I could borrow your hi-hat, stand?" And I was like, Sure, because I'm not playing until 8 o'clock tonight, and he had to play in the afternoon. So I lent him my hi-hat stand, and he came back and he was like, "Thank you for saving my life," gave me the hi-hat stand back. And 14 years later at the NAMM show, somebody recorded a video of me juggling that went viral and got 10 million views, and it was that guy.
No way.
That's awesome.
It was that guy,
That's cool.
Gary Patterson. Yeah, it was awesome.
Love it.
That's
It's
cool.
funny how things come around. Fred Fisher's got a story.
Let's hear
He
it.
said-
What's Fred
he
say?
said, "I had a drum riser collapse on me once. The whole band helped me get the kit set back up, and we continued. Took about 10 minutes to deal with it, but the show must go on."
The show must go on.
Wait,
One
did it
time,
collapse on top of you or it collapsed under you?
it
On him.
imploded.
I guess it's got to be under him.
I'm joking.
I had an incident one night in Ohio. We were playing the Ohio State Fair, and the stage behind the stage there was a big ravine, and there wasn't anything behind the stage. There wasn't like a railing or anything.
This doesn't sound good.
Oh, it's a huge ravine, like down into like it's a few 100 feet down. Like if you fall off this thing, you're gonna die. Right? You're not gonna get hurt. And
This doesn't sound good.
It's good. It ends up good. The drum riser was on rollers, but they weren't.
Oh no!
They weren't locking rollers.
Oh my God!
What these guys did, right? In their incredible engineering feat to lock the drum riser in, they took let's say there's 5 3/4 of an inch between the deck and the bottom of the drum riser. These guys took a 2x6 and wedged it standing up, holding the drum riser in place. That's how they locked the drum riser in. Well, we're up there playing and we're rocking out. Guitar player turns around and he puts his foot on the 2x6, not knowing. I didn't know. Nobody knew. His foot's on the 2x6. We're rocking out together. Big rock show. He pushes off of it and pushes the 2x6 out. So it's no longer wedged. And the drum riser starts rolling, and it's going towards the back of the stage.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to bail out. And I start coming up with a plan. I'm like, how am I going this way or that way? I'm not going to go over this edge. And I'm doing this thing, trying to get the sound guys, attention. Nobody's looking at me. The crowd's like, "Oh yeah, drummer's rocking out," and I'm like, I'm gonna die. So I would never do this. I'm not this guy, but I'm not gonna die either. So I'm like, okay, I got good aim. There's the board. He's not looking at me. There's no monitor guy.
You threw a stick at the board.
I threw a stick and I hit the board.
Wow.
I nailed it. And the dude looked up. He was pissed. And he comes running up. I'm like, "Get up here, get up." He goes running up the stage and he's MFing me all the way up there. And I'm like, "Look down." And then he's like, "Oh my God." And he grabs a 2x6 and wedges it back in there. Right. And then he goes over to the guitar player and says something. And you could tell they had communication. It was over. So after the gig, I went up and I told the guy, "Dude, I didn't mean to hit the board. I hope I didn't break anything. And I wasn't trying to be a dick," but he goes, "No, you did the right thing." He goes, "You would have been done." And I go, "I was ready to bail out either side." Stuff happens, man.
That's
Stuff like that.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I remember playing with the Mockingbirds in Tucson at this big college bar, and every now and then they'd bring the girls up on stage, and so the drunk girls could come up on stage and dance with the band while we played 80s music. And every time they come up and next to me, they'd start jumping up and down next to the drum riser, and my hi-hat would start moving all over the place. Everything's moving all over the place. I hated it, man.
Yeah.
I remember hating that. That's not really a show must go on story, but that's my story. There we go.
It happens. On YouTube, Sean said that he had let's see here. It's hard for me to read in a small print. Show must go on happened during my days in the Navy, and we had ships band we put together overseas. We learned that the power requirements are, most definitely the power requirements are really different, depending on where you are overseas and stuff. And on the ships it sounds like you probably lost some power. We were playing in Europe on a military tour, Sean. We were playing in Bosnia, and they had power converters, but they like didn't work. They didn't work, right? They worked, but not very well to save your equipment. By the end of the tour, the only pieces of equipment that worked were the drum set. And then, if you remember, line 6 used to make this little thing that kind of looked like a bean. They called it the bean pod. And it was you plug guitars into it. And it was the
Oh, yeah.
first kind of amp modeling thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sam had one of those. And then the other guitar player had a direct box that worked. And then the bass player was going direct. And they had found an amp that was set up for European power that they could plug the keyboard into, but everything had blown up on this tour. We were held together with literally with a Band-Aid by the time the tour was over.
Oh, I got another good one. I just remembered. I was playing at a wedding down in Carmel, and fancy wedding, lots of money, and they hired the band to play from 8 to 10, dance music. And but before the band was going to play, they had the dinner, and then they had the toasts, and the toasts just kept going. And then anybody else want to give a toast? And they kept going, and they were really long. And so it's getting, like why the band, why don't you guys go have dinner? We'll the toasts keep going. So, and there's a hard stop. There's like a city ordinance where the band has to stop at 10 o'clock, and it's like 9:45, and we haven't played a note. I'm not even exaggerating. It's 9:45.
I've been there.
And they finally say, "Okay, toasts are done. Everybody, it's time to dance." And so we did the first dance, played like one more tune, and then the venue manager came up and said, "Okay, you guys have to stop. It's 10 o'clock." And they had paid us a lot of money. This is one of those fancy big weddings, and they were, bride and groom were crestfallen, and I said, "Well, can we play acoustic, without any amplification?" They said, "Oh yeah, you can do that if you want to, but this is a standard wedding band. We had electric guitar, electric keyboard, electric bass, and drum, saxophone, and voice." And so the electric guitar played acoustically, unplugged. I mean, you can barely hear that thing, right? The
Right.
bass guitar played. Everybody had to be completely silent. And then I put the sticks away and played with my fingers on the drums, and there was no keyboard, but there was singing, and we ended up having a great time. We played for another hour, and they loved it.
Really? No kidding.
But
Now,
it was,
I can't
it was quite
imagine
a
that. I've been to those gigs where you have hard stops, and that's crazy, man.
It was crazy.
Yeah, man.
Well, it was that or stop. It's like they paid us all this money. Like, well, we can offer you this. So,
well, hopefully they understood that that's kind of out of your hands. That's the venue.
Right. Hey guys, Fred asks a really good question. It's sort of bringing it all together here with all the stories. What's the answer to make sure the show goes on? Does the incident ruin the rest of the night?
Good question. This is why I think Fred Fisher should just be our producer. He keeps us on track. He keeps the show going in a way that the show should go on.
Oh, I thought he was talking in your headset this whole time, Chip.
Hey, wait a minute, guys. This just in from Fred.
Right.
With all the stories, what's the answer to make the show go on?
Boy, I don't think that there's an answer, and I don't think the show always goes on. But when it does, you do everything you can, and part of it is creativity and thinking outside of the box, right? So that was an example I gave where we played acoustically with electric instruments. You never would have thought that could be possible, and yet we pulled it off. Bart threw a drumstick at the soundboard. That was sort of a Hail Mary, so to speak, but he did what he needed to do.
I did
$100,000 Neve board.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. On our last deck day, I did a drum solo and I dropped the stick and I kept going. And I thought that was over to ruin the whole thing, and nobody even mentioned it to me.
Of course not.
So it was cool.
Anytime
you just got to keep going, no matter what you do. You just got to keep.
You could juggle 2 tennis balls, and I would be impressed.
Well, thank you very much.
Let alone like 3 drumsticks while you're playing the drums.
Exactly.
So I think for us, these things may feel like enormous and insurmountable, but to the audience, not necessarily so. Right? Like for you, dropping a drumstick feels like, oh man, that's the end of the show. I just ruined it. Like I
Yeah.
didn't pull off what I was attempting. And for everybody else, it's like, whatever, you dropped a drumstick, pick up another one, and now I'm still entertained, and I forget about that as soon as it happened.
Right.
Yeah. How do you
And
make
that's,
sure the show goes on is a great question.
Well, I think that it's honestly, I think it's kind of life, right? I mean, we're kind of, if you will, in the spotlight or under the spotlight. So when we do something, people are watching us. They're there to be entertained. So to us, when something goes wrong, it's the worst thing in the world. But let's go with an extreme here. You're a heart surgeon. Something could go wrong in a heart surgery, and you don't just stop and go, forget it, I'm out of here. A pilot doesn't, in an airplane hit turbulence and go, forget it, I'm out of here. I mean, the life goes on. So I think as musicians, because everybody's watching or everybody's listening, when something happens, you have to kind of adapt and overcome. You just do. That's one of the things that I think the one thing that I've learned in all my years of being on the road, improvisation isn't just about the playing of the instrument. Sometimes it's playing the bass drum with a drumstick because you forgot your kick drum pedal, or asking a buddy to go get a pedal because he lives close by. These things happen. I've knock on wood, I can't think of a time where I didn't take a piece of gear to a gig. I don't want to say I haven't. I mean, I'm sure there's been a time when it happened, but I hear those stories a lot where people forget. People just, oh my God, I can't believe I left my cymbals, or I grabbed my amp, but I forgot my guitar. I mean, that stuff happens, and so you kind of, how do you deal with it? You just do.
We one of the bands I play in is called Mophone. It's a trio of 2 saxophones and drums, and we had a gig at the San Francisco Jazz Festival down in Stanford, which is about an hour and a half drive from here, one summer. And we get there, and one of the horn players shows up, and he's forgotten his horn.
Oh no!
I mean, it's like he had one thing.
Yeah.
You had one job.
Right. I had a truck full of like 18 different things to remember, and he had just the horn, and he couldn't believe it. He was like, he's never done it before, never done it since. Raced down the street to the local music store. They were about to close. He rented a saxophone, played the gig.
Yep.
Brian Lovin said that I've learned to keep spare parts in the car.
Yes, me too.
LOL, spare bass drum head, spare snare, bass drum pedal spring, cymbal felts, duct tape. Can't think of everything in my car, or stick bag.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that, Brian, because I also have a similar sort of like emergency kit of drum parts and spare things in my car, and that just travels with me everywhere now. And everything that's in that kit is because there was a day that I needed it and I didn't have it.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it's like learn the hard way, all those lessons. And I tell this to my students. I take a picture of like, hey, just do this. Just get all this stuff and put it in with your drums. And
yeah, I remember going through my bag and just wondering, like, sometimes like, why is there chapstick in here? What why did I? It felt like it was anything that goes in this bag was got to be for emergencies, right? I'm like, what emergency am I going to need chapstick with? But I had chapstick.
You never know. You never
know.
if they give away the dream date with Chip Ritter, you're definitely going to need it.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Why do I have chapstick and lip gloss in here? I don't understand.
What is that? What's with the lip gloss?
So what? I have a box that I carry with me, and it's actually a little flight case, and it has some of the essential stuff that I use on the gig, but I've got a little. Actually, we all have the Shure microphone zip bag. We always have those laying around, and it's got cymbal felts and sky gels and all those things that.
Tell us what's in your. Let's go through and let's add to whatever Bart says.
What's in your bag?
Yeah. What's in your emergency, spare
okay,
parts
so
bag?
I do. You know what, Chip? I've got chapstick in there. I've got cymbal felts. I've got extra wing nuts for the cymbal stands. I've got I've got a kick patch in there. I've got a multi-clamp, that like you can clip it onto a cymbal stand and put something else on there. Those things have bailed me out so much. I've got probably 2 or 3 drum keys in there. For my in-ear monitor system, I've got a lot of cabling. So any cable that I have 2.
Yep.
I have 2 cables. For if I use a cable, there's 2 of them,
Right.
because those will go bad. On the trick bass drum pedals, the little the bolts that it's a drum key bolt that goes from the drive shaft that tie the 2 pedals together. I don't know if you know this, Chip.
Yeah, the little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but on a trick bass drum pedal, those are a special size, and there's not another bolt on the pedal that takes those size. So I got a bag full of those. I called Mike Dorfman after I got to a gig and that was gone. I said, send me 30 of them.
Right.
Well, that's why I got a tube of Loctite.
Yep.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's
smart.
Yeah. So go ahead, Chip. Let me hear what you got.
What else?
Fred,
What else
I
do
was
you
just
have?
gonna say Fred Fisher said Tylenol and Band-Aids. And then
Oh,
Brian
yeah.
Lovin says
Yep.
we have sunscreen in there for AZ gigs.
Yeah.
But
yep.
for me,
Those
you know
are
what?
both great.
Today, these days, I don't have an emergency bag anymore. I just have my case and 1 drum key and a snare head. That's all the stuff I have right now today, because I set my drums up and I teach most of the time. And when I do a gig, I've got stuff in my car. But I guess, okay, so stuff in my car would be an extra pair of sticks, a drum key, some electrical tape. I don't know why I have that, but I have that.
Never know.
Not really that much, you guys. I don't really have that much.
Steven Tyler wrote a song. Steven Tyler wrote a song about you. Living on the edge.
I'm living on the edge, man. I'm living on the edge. But I'm going back to Fred Fisher's comment. Why must the show go on? The show must go on because that's what we're doing. That's why we're there.
Yeah. What do you got in your bag, Jeremy? Let's hear it.
Most of what you listed. I've got a bass drum spring assembly spare. I've got a couple extra beaters, but that's also because I'm using some new Dragonfly beaters. So I have different beaters for different gigs. Cliff Bar. Always carrying a Cliff Bar.
Oh,
Cliff
yes.
Bar. That's a good idea.
Earplugs. What else is in there? Oh, I have 3 to 2 grounding adapter. I've got fuses for the PA.
Fuses for the PA. I would never thought of that.
Well, it's because the fuse tripped one time and the PA was dead, and we're like, "Fuck, we have no backup." So
we have no backup.
Yeah.
Now you do.
Right.
Sean
exactly.
has a freeze-dried kit. Just add water. You know what? Tell me where to buy one.
Yeah. Wait, and he's not a mega millionaire?
I know. You know what? I always say, you ever remember Bugs Bunny cartoons where they had Marvin the Martian?
Sure.
And there was one where you put a quarter. Yeah, he put the quarter in the vending machine. It was just instant Martians. He put a little seed down and he dropped water on it. I want a drum set.
Where's the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
I did see at NAMM one time. They had an inflatable drum set. Did you guys ever see that?
No, I didn't see that.
You never saw that? Oh my gosh, yeah.
I missed it. I guess I missed out.
Inflatable shells, made out of whatever plastic of some kind, and they didn't sound very good.
They didn't sound good.
That's why they're out of business.
There was a lot of drum sets that I've seen over the years at NAMM that did not sound good.
Yeah. There's a few inventions that you see at NAMM where you're like, you didn't need to invent that.
Yeah, exactly. No.
You could have done something else with your time.
Won't see you next year. Yeah,
exactly. So I think, I think the show must go on is one of those things where, injuries. Since this whole thing for me started with my dumbass breaking my back, falling on my butt. Have you ever played with injuries? Or, I mean, we've all played when we're sick. I mean, it's pretty much said that we've all walked up there with the flu or something, but any injuries?
I just remember another one. Well, I told you about the torn ACL that I played with that one time, but I had another one. This is a gig at SF Jazz in the city, which is that's the, biggest jazz venue on the West Coast. So it's a big deal gig, and we're playing packed house, and I had come, it was midweek from the music camp where I was teaching. So I had to like race down there for the gig and then go back up. And I hadn't eaten, and the only thing I was able to get before I got on stage was a Coke. And I hadn't had a lot of, I was out of water. It was a 2-hour drive, and I was just racing to get there. And I had this Coke, and I was completely dehydrated. And I guess a Coke's not the best thing to drink when you're dehydrated. And I'm playing, and we're playing Big Chief by Professor Longhair, and it's like drum feature, big second line drum solo coming up, and my hand just cramps up. I mean,
Oh no.
cramps. My right hand cramps into a claw that was like so painful, and I couldn't with my right hand alone couldn't unclaw it. Right, I couldn't stretch it out, and so I had to take my left hand and pry my fingers open, and then just kind of like, hold them in a stretch position. And this is all while the tune is going on, and like the drum solo is about to happen, and I'm looking at the sax player trying to get his attention. I'm like, dude, skip the drum solo, and then we finally get to it. And just by the time the solo comes, my hand was like functional, and so I just started playing a solo, and they stopped and pulled it off. But that was one of the worst, scariest moments physically.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I've had my hands cramp up on me like that before. That sucks, man.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to play a local gig with the blues band here at the bar, at Chicago bar downtown. And on the way to the gig in my car, I was turning left, and I saw this lady coming, and I thought, yeah, she's gonna see me, and I don't know what happened or what I was thinking, but I got into a head-on collision.
Oh my God!
Totaled both the cars. Called the cops. I mean, I called 911. I called my friends in the band, and the band came, and I had a concussion. I was coming in and out of consciousness, and the band was. I came to, and I was in the van that the band owned, and watching them take my drums out of my car and put them in their van. And so we went, and I played the gig that night with a concussion.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember thinking, hey, this is a bad idea.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Well, you did
the
have a
show
concussion.
should not have gone on.
Right. It's like, you guys remember Whiplash? You saw the movie Whiplash?
Yes. Yeah.
Remember the kid gets into an accident and crashes his car, and he's all bloodied up, but he gets to the gig. It's one of those kinds of things.
What's Fred say? What's Fred say?
Fred says, I played less than 24 hours after rolling my truck on the freeway.
Wow.
Shattered my left wrist, showed up with my arm in a cast, and did the show with my right arm only. Unbelievable. How old are you,
My dad
Fred?
was the drum tech that night. He was probably 14.
No, but he was driving a truck, so he had to be older than that.
He was 16.
Not where I grew up. Fred told me that story, and I actually, about halfway through the show, I remembered him telling me that story. I'm glad that he shared that. Yeah, man. I mean, dude, stuff happens in life, and I don't know what he was 20, he said. And you know what? I think it's just the fact that we love what we do so much, and I think each one of us obviously takes what we do and holds what we do in very high regard, and what it is that we love it so much that it's like, hey, look, my head is still attached. I can feel everything. Let's go play the gig, and that, when I hurt myself a few weeks ago, that was exactly my thinking. I was like, well, I can feel everything. I'm in a ton of pain, but I got this, and since Fred shared his story of breaking his foot, this is where I said at the beginning of the show, where I said I was going to sound like a klutz. My very first gig, and it was a big gig. It was a major gig with Sam. We were playing the Deschutes County Fairground in Bend, Oregon. It was a fly-in gig, and this was before I was in the band. I was a sub on this gig. We were opening to Edgar Winter. Edgar Winter was the headliner, and it was a big outdoor concert, big fairground, 5,000 people concert, right? My first gig with him. The night before, I was working on an old school wedge monitor, and I was sitting on my bench. I went to move it off and set it down. Well, I pull it off my bench, and went to set it down, and the handle stayed in my hand, and the monitor boom, landed on my foot, broke my right foot, broke my little toe and the 2 toes next to it on my right foot.
Wow.
To this day, my toenail grows split.
Oh,
Too much information.
Yeah.
But and that was 27, 28 years ago. But I played the gig with a broken foot, man. Yeah. Fred
James,
says it's in our DNA. Yeah.
I actually love it. That was my favorite comment. It's in our DNA to just go for it no matter what. I think it is. I think it's just we feel like this is
Right
important.
on.
It's a professionalism thing, and it matters to us. If it didn't matter, we wouldn't care, right?
Exactly. That's why we do this show. It matters to us, right? It
Right.
does. What does James say?
James said he's played the day of shoulder surgery, passing kidney stones, throwing up with food poisoning, and then never canceled the gig.
Okay, I've
Go
canceled.
James.
Go James. I did cancel one gig in my life, and in the 26 years with Sam, I've used one sub. I had a gig when I had been in California for a couple of years. I've been in, maybe 2 years, and we were playing at the Troubadour, this band I was in called Blue Max, and believe it or not, I got chicken pox. I'd never had chicken pox.
Oh,
And dude, it was so bad. They were on the bottom of my feet. They were on my eyes. Like I
ouch.
could, it was the worst ever. And there was no way I could play. And this is back in the day when, we're trying to become rock stars and we're doing all original music. There was you don't get a sub for that,
Right.
And so that's the only time I've ever canceled a gig. I had chicken pox on my eyes.
Chip, have you ever canceled a gig?
Man, I've canceled a gig before because of family emergencies,
Mm-hmm.
but not because of any other health issues. No, I haven't.
The
No.
only gig I canceled was my wife was pregnant and thought she was going into labor. And so we went to the hospital, and on the way I called to cancel the gig.
Yeah.
Did she have the baby?
She didn't. I was like, God, why'd you make me
What
miss
the
the gig?
hell, man? What the hell? I missed the gig for this.
Exactly. It's a whole bunch of nothing.
Don't
bunch of
tell her that
nothing.
I said that. It was a joke, Michelle. I'm sorry.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh man, that's
Nice.
what does James say? I guess we always thought that we.
But I didn't want to disappoint the other band members, right?
Yeah,
That's the thing. You don't want to let your people down, right?
That to me, I think is across
Right.
the board. Every musician, like, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's not playing the gig or playing the gig bad or making a mistake on stage. It's always like, oh my God, I let the guys down.
Right.
I let the band down.
Fred says he had to cancel 8 months of shows when he broke his leg. The moral of that story is don't rent a scooter.
That's right. That's right. We're going to be in Indianapolis in a few weeks, and Fred, I'm not going to ride one of those scooters. And you know what? Last year when we were at PASIC, I took a picture of one of those scooters. It was right after Fred broke his leg. And I did like a selfie. Jeremy, you and I were walking over to the convention. I took a selfie and I put it on Facebook. I got dinged on Facebook for that, for violent content, because I said, "Hey, Fred, is this the guy that did this thing to you? I got your back, brother. I don't know. I said something stupid. Facebook dinged me that I was being violent because I said something against a scooter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool, James. You'll be there too. Great.
Are you going to be there? Awesome.
Yeah, man. We'll connect for sure. Rick's going to be there too, and one of my students is coming with us.
That's going to be awesome. Well, guys, look, we're going to cut off a little bit early today. Jeremy's got a lot of stuff going on, so we're going to cut out of here 5 minutes early. Let's see, Sean on YouTube, thank you for your questions, your comments. Everybody here on Facebook, thank you so much. Please go to our YouTube channel, hit like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. We want to wish Rick's mom a happy 99th birthday. That's where Rick is today. He is in Florida with his mom. Happy 99th birthday to her. Thank you guys for watching. Unless we got anything else we want to throw out there,
All good. Have a great day. Have a great week, everybody.
What did Shane say real quick, and then we'll go?
Our incident happened when the band imploded between sets and the bass player attacked the singer. We still had to perform and did so acoustically, only to get booed off the stage. Oh, that's a bad ending. I'm sorry to hear. That's a brutal story.
The singer should have attacked the bass player on stage, and you'd have got
Bass
cheered
player
on.
attack- Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yeah, that's a rough one. All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Chip spinning. We'll see you next week.
All right.